Yeah, and if this is not one of those little did she know chapters, I don't know what is. Because you see, in the previous Sansa POV chapter, she was saying to herself, yeah, okay, I'll be wearing this new gown at the wedding, the royal wedding. I guess Cersei has commissioned it for me, so I won't look too shabby, at the wedding, etc., etc. And well, yes, she is right on those accounts, but little does she know, right? Now, last time she was being measured for this new gown, the seamstress being very coy with regard to the collar. Leave the collar to me, dear, she said, because she didn't want to give away that the dress was going to be of a bridal collar. It was going to be her bridal dress. But even now that she's been fitted for the actual gown, she's actually wearing it, doing all those moves like spinning in it while admiring herself in the mirror, giggling and going, oh, wow, I look gorgeous, don't I? Yeah, even now, with a gown that looks positively like a bride's gown, ivory samite and cloth of silver and lined with silvery satin, Sansa still doesn't quite get it. But yeah, at some point she even thinks, I put this dress on and Willas will forget all about his future claim on Winterfell, because all he'll think of will be me. And you see, and that too, right there, is another little does she know moment. She doesn't know how right she is, although not quite in the sense she thinks. Because yes, once that gown is used for the purpose it was designed for, Willas can simply forget about his claims on Winterfell. So yeah, the pieces of the puzzle don't quite fit in Sansa's head. She thinks, am I going to marry Willas Tyrell in this dress eventually, do you think? But I'm also supposed to wear it at Joffrey's and Marjorie's wedding. What's that about? And what did Cersei mean? Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, Cersei is also in the room right now. So what did Cersei mean when she said, such a beautiful gown is wasted on that gargoyle? Did she refer to Willas when she said gargoyle? But surely she's not supposed to know I'll be marrying Willas. It's a secret. Only a few Tyrells are in the loop. Oh, and also Dontos, but yeah, Dontos doesn't count. You see, even that is a mistake, dear Sansa, because Dontos does count. If Dontos is aware of one of your secrets, Sansa, then you can bet that someone else will be informed as well. For one thing, we know from the last Tyrion POV chapter that Tywin Lannister is very much up to speed with the Tyrell plan of marrying Sansa to Willas. He heard it from Littlefinger, and only Dontos could have told him. There. In fact, if Dontos hadn't spilled the beans, this counter plan, the Lannister plan to marry Sansa to Tyrion Lannister, probably wouldn't even be taking place. In fact, almost certainly. And also, I guess we should ask ourselves, why did Lord Baelish inform Tywin of this Tyrell plan to whisk Sansa to Highgarden and hastily marrying her to Willas Tyrell? Is it because that marriage would interfere with Littlefinger's plans, whatever those plans may be? Does that mean Littlefinger has plans for Sansa in his little scheming and devious way? Yeah, let's keep an eye on this, dear listener. But where are my manners? I didn't even greet you. Dear listener, gentle listener, welcome to Sansa III from A Storm of Swords. And we all love a good Sansa chapter, don't we? For all that lovely exposition we're given, even though, for the time being, Sansa herself doesn't always fully grasp or correctly interpret all the info that just fly past her. But we readers are sort of one step ahead of her, For now, we'll have to wait until a Feast for Crows before the roles are reversed and Sansa does process things in her head to help us readers make heads of or tails of what's going on. We'll see. But in this chapter, she doesn't quite know what's what until she does. Yeah. And boy, oh boy, when she does get it, in typical George R. Martin fashion, it all happens in the space of a few lines. She gets outfitted with a cloak bearing the sigil of her house, the Direwolf, a maiden cloak, and Cersei matter-of-factly just informs her that she's about to marry Tyrion and that she'll be given away as a bride by Joffrey himself, and chop chop, because the guests are waiting, yeah? And in one fell swoop, all her dreams are crushed. I shouldn't be laughing, but there you have it. Oh, and to think that even those dreams were sort of like second best dreams to begin with, because Willa's is no Loras. So yeah, after a quick exchange a la, you can't make me do this, and oh yes we can, and this and back and forth, and George R. R. Martin really makes you feel the prison Sansa is in. She's then escorted out by Meryn Trant and newly made Kingsguard Sir Osmond Kettleblack. The former having a long history of beating up and generally humiliating Sansa on Joffrey's behalf, while the latter is kind of like a new Hound, in a way, a new Sandor Clegane, if for no other reason, because he's taken Clegane's place as King Joffrey's bodyguard. And in fact, he does tell her, look, Sansa, take my advice, yeah? Right? Give them what they want, and things won't get worse for you. Which is more or less what Sandor used to say to her. Although I don't think that Osmond Kettleblack will ask Sansa to sing him a song any time soon. So yeah, after a brief attempt to escape, immediately foiled, and where was she planning to go anyway? She's promptly recaptured, and they walk her to the castle sept. All the while, Sansa walking in the daze, thinking, I can be brave. Tyrion isn't as bad as the others, because Tyrion is okay. He's sort of he's still a Lannister, but he did stop my humiliation at the hands of that other vermin of a Kingsguard, Boros Blount, and while she's thinking all of that, she sees him. Dun dun dun, ominous music. Who's there waiting by the steps in the sept? Steps in the sept, steps in the sept. Yeah, try and say it real fast. Who's there waiting by the steps in the sept? Yeah, see that. Oh, I already had. Well, yeah. Who's there if not Joffrey himself, in all his slick and shiny and psychotic glory? And since we're on the subject of King Joffrey, can I spend a few words not on Joffrey, yeah? But on the actor who plays Joffrey in the HBO series, Jack Gleeson, because he's so good. See, he's so good at playing the character you love to hate. He's giving him the right mixture of vanity, cockiness, cowardice at times. And I don't know have you heard any news? Let me just put the book aside for a moment. I don't know if you've heard. I heard that he unfortunately got a lot of hate mail for that, to the point that he stopped acting for a long time. I mean, of course, I know that you have heard it, and even if you haven't, dear listener, you could probably figure that out, because there's a lot of not quite sane people out there who confuse, a performer for the character. But no, what I was referring to is, I don't know what I don't know whether you heard or not, and this is what I heard. Now, that Gleeson said that the reason he considered, and he's still considering stopping acting altogether, was that he found that sort of life, not suitable for him, that being in the public eye, was not the kind of life he fancied. And seriously, I do hope that's the only reason, because it would be a shame if his acting career had been halted simply because he was just too good in his role. I mean, because he's such a sweet kid. I mean, he's no longer a kid, obviously, but I saw him in press conferences, taking questions from fans of the series in his Irish accent. Such a sweet kid he was at the time. And he definitely didn't deserve whatever hate he received from certain fans of the HBO series. And the latest news at the time of recording this is that he's going to be back in the game, some TV series, something or other. Wait. I'll look it up in a second. And what I know for sure is that he's been cast as a villain. Oh, surprise, surprise, right? He's been cast as a villain in various Batman TV shows. He's back. He's been cast as a villain in Return to Screen, in the BBC's The Famous Five. You, dear listener, are probably listening from a different time, age where this is already like a fact. This news, however, dates back to July 2023, and will be returning to screens for a role in the BBC's The Famous Five series. And you should look The Famous Five series, and you should look at the picture that comes with this article, because if that's not the picture of a villain, The Famous Fives, the kids with the dog. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, for young adult readers, and sure. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Right. So right. Anyway, back to Book Joffrey. Okay. Forget about Jack Gleason, to whom we wish all the best. And back to Book Joffrey, because he's all like, I'm giving you away today, love. That's right, Sansa. I'm your daddy today. Yeah. Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Me, that's who. I can do whatever I want. I'm the king. You see, that's what happens when you put a psychotic child in charge of an entire continent, insular areas included. And they're in the sept because weddings are officiated by septons, which must be like parallel number 259 between the faith of the seven and Catholicism. I lost count at this point. I mean, the wedding thing isn't strictly a Catholic prerogative of Catholic priests, because vicars, rabbis, pastors, Orthodox priests too officiate weddings. So this one is a bit more like loose, shall we say, not as tight as those other parallels, like lighting candles in a sept/church and the hierarchy, the hierarchy of septons, the high septon standing in for the Pope, and the seven gods that really are just different facets of the same divine entity, sort of mirroring the Holy Trinity. There are countless parallels. Anyway, I don't think we'll have time for all the other 258 similarities, so I'll stop here, but maybe a separate commentary? Boy, would that be exciting. All right, so Tyrion, there he is. He's standing right behind Joffrey, and he's like, all right, nephew, you've had your fun. Can I have a word with my future bride? At which point, Joffrey turns to Mummy to see if she has his back in denying Tyrion this moment of privacy with Sansa, and she doesn't. In fact, Cersei gives her son such a look that Joff turns all meek and says, oh right, I suppose. So Tyrion has this brief moment with Sansa and tells her, look, okay, I don't want to be here any more than you do. I apologize for this whole thing, but, that's how my daddy wanted it, and it's not like I can refuse and run away from home and maybe pick up a trade, What trade would I pick? Tyrion's arc in this book is as follows. At this point, he's still a decent human being and tries to do or say the right thing at this point. No, as questionable as his idea of the right thing might be, sometimes anyway, as we shall see as the story progresses. But in this book, his arc follows his descent into nothing, basically. There are these two arcs. It's still good, and it's not yet bitter. Don't want to spoil anything for you, dear listener, in case you happen to be a first-time reader. But it's also his descent into nothing, into losing bit by bit all the things that he had acquired in the previous book. Bit by bit he's losing, first and most obviously he's lost his power as hand to the king, and the men who were loyal to him at court. Now his freedom in the form of his arranged marriage, where he doesn't have a say any more than his bride-to-be has a say. Bride-to-be behind whom, we might add, there lurks another invisible hand belonging to a certain character who is manipulating her fate, as we have just established. But this bride-to-be is smart enough to see that Tyrion doesn't really have a say in all this at all. So even when he says, look, if you don't want to marry me, there's always my cousin Lancel, who, granted, is a bit of a dick, but maybe more to your liking. But she can see that it's not really Tyrion's call. That's how I interpret it anyway. The fact that she immediately goes, no, you know what, that's all right. Let's do what the king wants and get it over with. Let's do what's expected of us. That theme recurs a lot. And so they head to that special spot in the set where weddings are performed, which is, appropriately, right between the statues of the father and the mother, where the Septon is waiting for bride and groom. And this is where Sansa notices something interesting. None of the Tyrells are there at the actual ceremony. Even Loras, who's a member of the Kingsguard, he doesn't seem to be there. Must have called HR and said, I've come down with the flu or something. And why would any Tyrell be there? This wedding represents a major setback in their scheming, their planning, their plots within plots, mainly hatched by this matriarch, Lady Olenna. So right now they're predictably pissed off, all of them, all of the Tyrell Corporation in bulk, all of them. The attendees are, in fact, the usual assorted characters that can always be expected to turn up in the Red Keep whenever, in any particular part of the Red Keep where there's a party, where there's cocktails to guzzle and canapes to munch on. Let's see. Varys is there, but not Littlefinger. Remember when I told you in the latest Tyrion chapter, always keep track of where Lord Peter Baelish, a.k.a. Littlefinger, is at, officially anyway. And in case you've forgotten, Littlefinger is supposed to be on his way to the Eyrie in the Vale in an effort to persuade Lady Lysa Tully/Arryn to marry him and swear allegiance to the crown, which carries the little perk, in Littlefinger's case, of making him the de facto ruler of the Vale. What's the title? The Lord Protector, Paramount. Not to mention Warden of the East, because little Robert really doesn't seem to know what's what, it seems to me. But, and here's my point, is Littlefinger really where everybody thinks he is? Ha! We'll just have to keep reading and find out. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, by the way, that means that in Littlefinger's absence, Tyrion is now master of coins, meaning that he'll have to balance the books cooked by Lord Baelish. And that's another story. It was, okay, so I'll leave that. I'll put a pin in it. We will resurrect it soon enough. Let's see who else is there. Sir Adam Marbrand, family friend of the Lannisters, grew up with Jaime, if memory serves. And he's there in the capacity of commander of the City Watch, the gold cloaks. Then some Lord Philip Foot, don't know much about him. Bronn, who is now Sir Bronn, and don't you forget it, laddie. Well, you've got some of the, because you've got to have some guests from the groom's side, I guess. Plus Lolly's Stokeworth, who can't stop sobbing, poor girl. Bronn and Lollies might get closer in the future. Not entirely motivated by love, but that's all I'm going to say for the time being. No spoilers. Who is this? Of course, there's a Lord Giles or Giles. I heard it pronounced both ways. Who right now is doing what he does best, is coughing. The poor man is affected by chronic pneumonia, I think. And of course, Jalabhar Zo, is that how it's pronounced? From the Summer Isles. He's always there. Whenever there's a party, he's there, dressed in his best feathered attire. But his actual motivation is to lobby for support from the crown in order to go back to the Summer Isles with a considerable budget and enough soldiers to stage a coup d'etat, basically. It's like an exile prince is how he styles himself. In the meantime, he's just enjoying his exile in King's Landing and stuffing his face with, caviar tarts and whatnot. Devil's eggs, I don't know. Things. No, well, he's in the ceremony, I mean. No, sorry, we're not yet at the reception. We'll get there. Because I seem to recall that even there we do have a little bit of food porn, food descriptions, although definitely some wine porn, courtesy of Tyrion himself, who gets smashed. That part I do remember. So anyway, low-key ceremony. The real massive wedding is going to be a few days later, the royal wedding. So this is just the opening act to it, if you will. And we're not given much in terms of ceremonial procedures, like are candles lit, are vows read out? If that's the case, I guess they must have provided Sansa with a script, or more likely there's like a standard vow formula type thing. It's all it's kind of like left to the imagination. But one thing we're told in detail is a tradition known as the exchange of the cloaks. I think we see it here for the first time. So a few words. In noble houses, bride and groom wear cloaks with the sigils of their respective houses embroidered in them. And this is where we understand why Sansa was equipped with a cloak bearing the emblem of a direwolf, which she immediately recognized as a maiden cloak. And what they do with these cloaks is they exchange them and place them on each other's shoulders, as if to say, now that our houses are joined together, my house will protect yours, and vice versa, blah, 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 blah. In the eyes of the gods, and so on and so forth. As it's a gesture that carries a highly, political symbolism. Now, the procedure, Joffrey, that's how it happens. Joffrey grabs this stark direwolf cloak from Sansa's shoulders, an opportunity that he exploits to rest his hands on her breasts. A super cringe moment, because I think everybody noticed. But who's going to say anything? It's good to be king, in the words of Mel Brooks. And after that, it's Tyrion's turn to take off his own cloak and place it on Sansa's shoulders. There's only one problem. Sansa is way taller than Tyrion, like most people in the sept right now. And no one has thought of bringing a ladder, a stool, or anything for Tyrion to stand up and wrap Sansa with a Lannister cloak in a dignified manner, shall we say. So Tyrion, what could he do? Psst, psst, hey, hey. He just goes, hey, hey, He wants her to kneel to make life a bit easier for him. So, just, he goes, God, could things possibly be any more humiliating for him? So he tugs at Sansa's skirt, like a child would do. And guests start giggling, with that sort of cruelty people is capable of in this universe. Ha, ha, ha. Oh, look, it's funny because he's short. Ha, ha. And it's kneel, Sansa, please kneel. And he keeps tugging. And Sansa is only too aware of what's going on, but she's thinking, no, come on. No, that's too much humiliation for one day. Seriously. First I get my tits fondled on national TV, and now this? Come on. This is nothing like the wedding I kept dreaming of all those years. Kind of like a celebrity wedding on a magazine. And now I'm expected to kneel? No, not on your life. No. So eventually Joffrey, not so much to save the couple from embarrassment, but in fact, rather to inflict them a little more thereof, a little more of that embarrassment, orders Dontos to get down on all four, to prop Tyrion up, kind of like a human stool. A fool as a human stool. Let me quote from the text. And so it was that her lord husband cloaked her in the colours of House Lannister whilst standing on the back of a fool there. So she turns around, kneeling this time, and they say their vows and kiss. Oh, there are vows. Okay, well, there you go. There are vows. Probably a standard formula for noble houses, highborn. Oh, and then just so we don't forget, we're reminded of the sort of mixture of pity and repulsion that Sansa feels for Tyrion upon seeing his face. Let's not forget he's lost half his nose. He goes, oh, boy, is he ugly. Boy, is he ugly, she's thinking, not saying it aloud. Even uglier than the Hound. Don't you find it interesting, by the way, gentle listener, don't you find it interesting how the Hound is still haunting Sansa's thoughts? I mean, yeah, I get it. A guy who saves you from an angry mob one day and then forces you to sing at knife point a couple of months later. Yeah, one is not likely to forget that, but still. Anyway, so they all move to the small hall where the reception is held. And that is where the Tyrells are at. I told you. And the actual wedding ceremony might be an affront to the Tyrell house, you see. But granted. But never pass on an opportunity to put some free cheese tarts and lemon cakes in the stomach, huh? So, yep. The matriarch, Lady Olenna, a.k.a. the Lady of Thorns, doesn't even acknowledge Sansa, because the latter is no longer a pawn in her schemes, you see. Some friend, huh? Ditto for all those cousins, Eleanor, Alla, and Megha, who presumably have been instructed to simply pretend they don't even know Sansa. And Tyrion immediately gains access to his seat at the table and indulges in a sort of 1970s Hollywood actor diet. Hardly any food, just booze. Everyone now and then, every now and then he just nods whenever someone proposes a toast, kind of like, yeah, and he gulps his drink. Yeah, one more drink. And another. And Sansa, in the meantime, is dreading the end of the feast, which, as tradition demands, will climax in the bedding ceremony. Here, let me quote from the Wiki of Ice and Fire. I got the website right here. Sorry. The custom consists mainly of the newlyweds being carried to bed to consummate their marriage. The bride is carried by the men, who are charged with undressing her on the way and generally telling bawdy jokes referring to what awaits her between the sheets. The women do the same to the husband. Ah, there you go. Forgotten that part. Only after being bundled naked in bed are the two newlyweds left alone, at which point the guests wait outside the bridal chamber, still shouting ribald suggestions. Is that how it's pronounced? Do you know? I've only ever seen it written. Suggestions through the double entendres. You see, something like that. Crass innuendos through the door. So yeah, that's what Sansa, might I point out, 13 years old, is dreading right now. So yeah, imagine that. This is the kind of tradition King Robert was super fond of, I seem to remember. In fact, historical first nights of important weddings in Westeros. Here we go. There was, of course, Stannis' wedding to Selisa. Can you imagine how cheerful Stannis and Selisa must have been during their bedding ceremony? Not to mention getting to the bed chamber only to find out that the bed had already been used by Robert in the deflowering of Delena Florent, cousin of Selisa. A coupling which incidentally led to the birth of Edric Storm, the only officially acknowledged bastard, illegitimate son of the late King Robert. What else? Then there was the Tywin and Joanna Lannister's wedding, where Prince Aerys Targaryen, not yet King Aerys II, apparently took certain unwanted liberties with Joanna in the bedding ritual when the men at the feast had to disrobe the bride. We don't have much more info on the event, but yeah, just to put things in context. Meanwhile, Tyrion is getting increasingly drunk, as you can imagine. That's his hobby. That's his hobby. Everything suggests that 3 being the charm, this bedding ceremony won't end up pleasantly either, as well as the other two. In fact, possibly worse. At least, in the other 2 weddings, you had 2 people who at least both went through the motions willingly, both couples. And in Tywin's and Joanna's case, I'm told true love was involved, actually. But right now, Sansa's thinking, no, okay, maybe, what if we danced a bit? Yeah, maybe, I'll lose my inhibitions. Yeah, but Tyrion is like, nah. I think we've given our guests enough cringe for one day, which, given what's about to happen, feels like the famous last words. It's actually Joffrey who leads the dance, with Marjorie doing an impressive job, actually. Seems like he has a few nice moves on the dance floor, which goes to show that one can be socially smooth and a sociopath at the same time. Yeah. So other guests follow, among whom we're first given a glimpse of Lady Merryweather. She's going to come in the foreground in book 4. Right now, we're still not given her full name, which is actually Lady Taena of Myr, the wife of Lord Orton Merryweather. And we first encountered her in Sansa 1, this same book, as part of the Tyrell entourage, but hastily dismissed as Lady Merryweather, a sultry, black-eyed, Myrish beauty. But this is the first time George R. Martin goes into detail explaining, well, that she's super hot. She's a hot mum. What do you call that? A yummy mummy? MILF? And she knows her charm is one of her weapons, Here is the first time we are informed of that. There you go. The Myrish beauty with the black hair and big dark eyes spun so provocatively that every man in the hall was soon watching her. There you go. The rest of the Tyrells are more low-key, shall we say. While Cersei, not to be outdone by Lady Taena, engages in a few dances, first with Lord Redwine, then Lord Rowan, and finally her own father, while Sansa's thinking, she charms them all. How I hate her. I love the just juxtaposition. Is that the word? Of these two thoughts. She charms them all. Look at her. Oh, how I hate her. That's right, Sansa. Voice your feelings. Feels good, doesn't it? That's right. Okay. So it's at this point that Garland Tyrell, the middle brother between Willas and Loras, asks Sansa to dance. Well, he asks Tyrion first. I mean, let me rephrase that. It's not like he walks up to Tyrion and asks him, "Hey, Tyrion, do you want to dance?" What he does is he asks Tyrion, "Hey, is it cool if I have a few spins with Mrs. Lannister?" And after Tyrion goes, whatever, it's off to the dance floor. Now, Garland, stage name Garland the Gallant. Remember, he's the one who was given the castle and lands that used to belong to the Florents, deprived of their assets for siding with Stannis. Which gives us a nice mirror image, because the Tyrells are to the Lannisters what the Florents are to the Baratheons, the remaining Baratheon branch anyway. Major house, supporting the main house's claim to the throne, and as well as supporting the war effort. You can see a mirror image there. Anyway, be it as it may, Garland Tyrell does his best to prove that he's indeed gallant by name and reputation. And he's there with Sansa, cheek to cheek, tells her jokes, even manages to make her giggle a bit, and then tells her, "Look, I could kind of see that you were crying during the ceremony, and they didn't exactly look like tears of joy to me. No, don't deny. And I realized that this wedding of yours didn't pan out the way you've always dreamt it. For one thing, I could tell you were really after my brother Loras. That look, it is. It's not a secret. He doesn't miss a thing, does he? This Garland guy. So he goes, "Yeah, listen up, Sansa." He goes, "Trust me when I tell you that you're better off married to Tyrion, because A, your new husband is actually a greater man than you think," which is very surprising coming from a Tyrell, from a disgruntled Tyrell. And B, being married to Loras would have made you miserable. Trust me. He may look good, he may be brave and all that, but yeah, say no more. Now, I'm paraphrasing all that, as you must have realized. But really, doesn't that little speech strike you as all sorts of weird? Because I said it before, but first, because a Tyrell, you would think, should be one of the least likely characters to acknowledge that Tyrion has actually been a valuable asset in the war effort. And also, why bring up Loras? I mean, didn't he, as a Tyrell, didn't he know that the plan was to marry Sansa off to Willas? He must have been aware of that. So I'm assuming this little speech is an out-of-universe wink at us, readers, to give us another clue that Loras has, in fact, no interest in women, and that he was actually in a serious, albeit secret, relationship with none other than Renly Baratheon. And if he should ever get over his loss, Loras, it's not like he's likely to be back on the market anyway, since he's a member of the Kingsguard and has taken the vow of celibacy. So, again, what's the point of mentioning Loras and not Willas? Of course, he would have been, I guess he could have been, overheard in the dance floor, mentioning Willas, which is mentioning her, planned wedding to Willas, which was still supposed to be this kind of secret. The secret that you sort of whisper to everybody. Pretty much. By now it's in the open. It's no longer a secret. So yeah, no, I think that this little speech from Garland really, I do think, is just to give us readers a clue about Loras's preferences. Because remember, clues were very sparse and vague in the books. Unlike the HBO series, which went out of its way to spell it all out for viewers as loud and clear as possible. Anyway, time to sweep to time to sweep. Time to swap partners in this dance. Yeah, it's that kind of a dance. Yeah, what are you gonna do? And who should Sansa find herself face to face with, if not Joffrey, who pulls another Joffrey on her? He goes, "Oh, hello, Sansita." Yeah, he goes, "Don't you worry about a thing, darling. My uncle may be ugly, but you'll still have me." From time to time. Yeah, I know. I'm going to marry Marjorie, but hey, my dad also had mistresses. Some Targaryens as well had mistresses. The third or the fourth Aegon, I don't remember. So why not me? Yeah, all right. All I have to do is just order Tyrion to have you delivered to my chambers whenever I like, and he'll have to do it. Or I'll have his head. It's good to be king, yeah? What a charming young man. Luckily, the dance partner sort of switch type thing goes on for a bit. But Sansa's relief is short-lived, because as soon as the music stops, Joffrey doubles down. It's time to bed them! Yay! Let's get the clothes off her and have a look at what the she-wolf has got to give my uncle. Yeah, this is a direct quote. And that's when it happens. The super cringe moment. Tyrion can barely keep his eyes open from all he's been drinking. He just says something along the lines of, "Yeah, I don't think so." At which point, Joffrey immediately loses it, as he is wont to do, and goes, "Yes, I command it." Command it all you like, mate, but one more peep out of you and I castrate you. I swear it. Oh, whoa. At which point, the whole room goes silent. Joffrey, as you can imagine, is puffing with rage like a cartoon character. He can't even think of a comeback. And Tywin, unusually, it is Tywin who acts all diplomatic and stuff, and he goes, "Yeah, all right, we'll dispense with the bedding ceremony." He himself, as I said earlier, having not so good experience with his own bedding ceremony. But no, Joffrey's screaming for revenge. So Tywin is like, "Look, mate, he's drunk, all right? Didn't mean it. So come on." And even Tyrion, who realizes he might be in actual danger, he gives the most groveling apology. Then he tries a light-hearted joke, like, "Yeah, please don't have my tongue chopped off. It's really the only thing I have to properly pleasure my wife. Ha ha ha." Some people even giggles at this point. Some people giggle because earlier on he said, "Yeah, no, it's sorry. I was just talking out of envy for your massive penis. Yeah, I saw it in the locker room, and me. What do I have? Like it's just a little thing that's really not worth mentioning. Nothing to write home about, as it were." But I'm sorry for going back to that topic, which is dear to me. But this whole as my tongue for pleasuring my wife, etc., etc. I'm going back to that. Yes, yeah. You think I didn't make a note on that? Because Ygritte in the last John POV chapter, I'm obsessed, was right. She did ask, "Oh, I love what you did with your tongue, dude. Is that what lords do to their ladies in their castles?" At which point, Jon had just shrugged his shoulders and go, "Man, I don't know what ladies lords do. I'm neither." But she was right. Common practice, apparently. Although you will remember that in my commentary of that chapter, I put forth the theory that the art of cunnilingus is explained by maesters. I know. I do pay these details a morbidly huge amount of attention. What are you gonna do? Yeah, no. Go read the previous John chapter. Go listen to my commentary to, if you feel like it. If you're curious, there's a whole there's a whole chapter I devote to the matter. So anyway, Tyrion giggles, a bit of self-deprecating humor from him, and the tension seems to relax a bit. So Tyrion had better get the hell out of there pronto, under everyone's disapproving eyes. So he takes Sansa by the hand and he goes, "All right, love, let's go and do this thing." And off they go to this chamber that they have been assigned in the Tower of the Hand. Tyrion waddles to it, because that's what he does. He waddles. And Tyrion, let's see, here we go, the quotation. Quote from the text. Tyrion kicked the door shut behind them. Yeah, the guy is pissed, clearly. I mean, as in drunk, not as in angry. And he keeps drinking. So Sansa goes, "Are you sure that's a wise idea, my lord?" Throughout the scene, Sansa is determined to be polite, stressing that what she's doing she's doing it because she's been commanded to. So she refuses to call him by his proper name, Tyrion, not even when encouraged by him. So he wants to go ahead with this thing, consummating the marriage, but when he hears that Sansa isn't even 13, all he can say is like, "Oh, gods have mercy." And inevitably, he's reminded of his first marriage with Tysha, which began years ago in a Las Vegas sort of wedding, drunken septon and a couple of pigs as witnesses / wedding feast. Yeah, because they ate one of the two witnesses. And a marriage that ended up in tragedy. Tywin saw to that. And once again, it's Tywin who's pulling the strings here. Spot the pattern. In a way, I can see what Tywin's reasoning might be in this situation when you think about it. The whole, marriage to Tyrion, Sansa. I mean, he did explain it. He did explain it in so many words. In an earlier Tyrion chapter, he did say to Tyrion, "Look, you marry her, and you'll be waltzing to Winterfell as a legitimate, Lord of Winterfell by marriage. We can't, we can't take Winterfell by conquest. The Northerners will always resent us for us, and the motto being, the North remembers, and at which point, Tyrion legitimately asks. I can't remember whether he actually voiced his concern, but he asked, or he just wondered in his head, "Surely, aren't you missing something? The heir to Winterfell is Robb. So, unless you, dear father, are, certain that Robb is living on borrowed time, then there's a little catch here. Robb has to die first." Anyway, that's all I'll say. But anyway, so no, but there's some further layers to Tywin's thinking behind the arrangement of this marriage, because he's thinking. I think he's figured, all right, my ne'er-do-well son Tyrion has been increasingly challenging to keep quiet. Just won't shut up. With his claim on Casterly Rock, I want Casterly Rock, I want Casterly Rock. He just won't shut up about it. And unfortunately, he might actually be entitled to it, according to the laws of the land. But with this marriage, I'll give him the opportunity to rule Winterfell. So that should keep him satisfied, and he'll stop chewing my ear with Casterly freaking Rock. It's a win-win. Yeah? Smart or what? So there's another layer, there's another, purpose that's, this wedding marriage is supposed to accomplish. Which is all very well, as I said, dear listener, except for that thing. Tywin's plan only works if Sansa becomes the direct heir to Winterfell. Meaning that some unfortunate accident should befall Robb Stark. taking him out of the equation. So how can Tywin be sure that Robb will be kaput in the near future? Anyway, that's enough for me. That's enough from me. No spoilers. Did I remember to say that? Yeah, I have a strictish policy on spoilers. In this series, I will only be looking back, not forward or ahead. There. So let's get back into the bedchamber, where Sansa's and Tyrion's marriage is about to not be consummated. Because all she can do is be polite and terrified, while all he can do is reminisce about Tysha. Do you know what? That reminds me of an account of Robert Baratheon's and Cersei Lannister's wedding night. Bear with me. We have it from Cersei herself, who relays it to Eddard. She goes, "The night of our wedding feast, the first time we shared a bed, he called me by your sister's name. He was on top of me, in me, stinking of wine, and he whispered, Lyanna, or, unless it's pronounced Lyanna." So you can see the parallel here. No, the groom is wasted on wine, and he'd rather be with the one woman he's ever loved, who's no longer there, while the bride has kind of resigned herself to share the bed with a second, if not third, choice husband. Oh yeah, and it has just occurred to me, George R. R. Martin has probably put that detail there, Robert being drunk as a fish, I suppose, to justify the fact that he never even realized that Cersei was no longer a maiden. Yeah. But anyway, I digest. The point is that Sansa definitely doesn't want to carry on with the bedding, the actual bedding, and Tyrion is kind of conflicted about it. He goes, okay, I know you don't fancy me. I'm short. I miss half my nose, but look, I can be good to you. Except that it sounds more like I can be good to you. If I manage not to puke my guts out right now, and if we turn off the lights, hey, look, just blow on the candle, you can pretend that I'm, the Knight of Flowers. There's Loras again. Man, that Loras. But yeah, just as they're about to do it, undressed and all, she with her eyes closed, and I just imagine them closed, not just closed, those eyes, but squinty as well. Oh my God, it's going to happen. With terror. And he goes, all right, open your eyes. Sansa, open your eyes. So she does. And there he is, all naked, and he's, let me quote here, man's staff, poked up, stiff and hard. That being the only thing about him that is actually straight. Everything else, his eyes, he's pissed, I told you. And he goes, look, I cannot do this. My father be damned, we will wait. The turn of a moon, a year, a season, however long it takes, until you have come to know me better and perhaps, he doesn't say mayhaps here, and perhaps to trust me a little. But wait for what? Well, see, because Tyrion's thesis is this. My wife Sansa has to sleep with me when she wants to, not out of sense of duty or whatever, which I think is commendable. That part, at least, I mean, you will agree, is commendable. It does carry a little bit of narcissism, but at least, it doesn't escalate in non-consensual, not entirely consensual sex. Also, George R. R. Martin, I think, inserted the detail of Tyrion being, how can I put it, ready for love, so that we can rule out the fact that he's being so virtuous simply because he's so drunk that he can't perform. I think, yeah, that detail had to be there, to be absolutely clear on Tyrion's, good intentions, quote unquote. But Sansa's like, yeah, okay, I know, I see your point, mate, but what if that never happens? What if I never come to fancy you that way? Sansa's saying that even after trying to remember how Septa Mordane's lectures on wedding nights, you see, this talk of bees and flowers is left to septas in highborn houses, apparently. At least for girls. And Sansa had duly run through the program, Septa Mordanes had told her, try to see the best in your man. Find something about him that you really like. And after concluding that she couldn't find a single detail about Tyrion that remotely appealed to her, she had to ask, sorry, my lord, but what if that never happens? What if I never ever fancy you? And Tyrion doesn't appear to take it well. He reacts as if he'd just been slapped in the face. He goes, all right. He goes, I guess that's why, sex workers are a thing. Ha! In the HBO series, he said something like, and so my watch begins, quoting the vow of the Night's Watch, which kind of made sense, because when you start your watch, you also supposed to subscribe to that, vow of celibacy. And it kind of makes sense because considering that, Syrians was on the wall, he might have picked up the sentence when visiting, Castle Black in Book 1. Although it's a quote that would work if Tyrion didn't have a hot gal on the side, to be fair, the enigmatic Shay, who may or may not love him, but nevertheless, she does provide Tyrion with a regular dose of hanky-panky. That's what I think, anyway. So does Tyrion's watch begin. And on that bittersweet moment, not the first nor the last by any stretch of imagination, we, dear listener, conclude the reread of Sansa 3 from A Storm of Swords. Thank you for following me this far. If you like this sort of content, don't forget to do the various things that people do under such circumstances, and feel free to navigate through this channel playlist. You can find links to previous Tyrion, next Tyrion, previous Storm of Swords, next Storm of Swords. Feel free to go anywhere at all or nowhere at all. It's a free continent. So, as for me, I'm looking forward to talking back to you with the next chapter, which I believe is an Arya. No, yes, it's an Arya commentary. So yeah, Arya 5. All right. Well, speak to you soon. Bye-bye.